Every day, millions of men reheat last night's dinner in the microwave. Convenient, time-saving, seems harmless, but research shows reheating certain foods creates compounds that may contribute to PSA elevation. Not because the food is bad, because the reheating process changes its chemical structure. Study from Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry measured compound formation during reheating. Finding: advanced glycation, end products, AGEs, increase by 40 to 120% when common foods are reheated. AGEs trigger inflammation throughout the body, including prostate tissue. Research from European Urology: men with higher AGE levels in their blood had PSA levels average 1.8 points higher than men with lower AGE levels. Study from Molecular Nutrition and Food Research: inflammation markers increased by 62% after consuming reheated high-AGE foods compared to same foods eaten fresh. 5 specific foods create the most problematic compounds when reheated. Foods you probably have in your refrigerator right now. Foods that are healthy when fresh, but may develop inflammatory properties when subjected to repeated heating. Today, the exact 5 foods, why reheating transforms them, the compound formation that happens, and the simple preparation methods that let you enjoy these foods safely. If your PSA is elevated and you regularly eat leftovers, this one change could make a measurable difference within 8 weeks. Now, before we move on, a quick reminder. This video is for educational purposes only. It's not medical advice, and you should always discuss PSA changes and dietary modifications with your doctor, especially since PSA elevation has many causes that need medical evaluation. Let's get specific. Here are the 5 foods research suggests you should stop reheating if you're concerned about PSA levels. Food number 1, red meat, including beef, pork, and lamb. When you cook meat at high temperatures, compounds called heterocyclic amines, HCAs, form naturally. First cooking creates moderate HCA levels. This happens with fresh cooking, can't be completely avoided. But reheating? Study from Food Chemistry analyzed HCA formation in reheated meats. Finding: reheated beef contained 230% more HCAs than equivalent freshly cooked portion. Reheated pork, 190% increase. Reheated lamb, 210% increase. Why does this matter for PSA? Research from Cancer, Epidemiology, Biomarkers, and Prevention examined HCA exposure and prostate inflammation markers. Men with highest dietary HCA levels had inflammatory markers 47% higher than men with lowest exposure. Inflammation in prostate tissue causes cells to release more PSA into bloodstream. Result: elevated PSA reading that may not indicate cancer, but rather inflammation from dietary compounds. Important clarification: HCAs don't cause prostate cancer in the amounts from normal eating, but they may contribute to inflammation that elevates PSA. Real-world example: man grills steak Sunday, refrigerates half, microwaves it Tuesday for lunch, fresh steak Sunday, moderate HCA formation, normal inflammatory response, reheated steak, Tuesday triple the HCA concentration, amplified inflammatory response, cumulative effect over weeks and months, chronic low-level inflammation that may elevate PSA by 0.5 to 1 point. The alternative: if you cook meat in batches, portion it fresh and freeze immediately. When ready to eat, thaw in refrigerator and eat cold in salads or sandwiches, or cook smaller portions fresh as needed. If you must reheat meat, use gentler method, steam or low-temperature oven rather than microwave. Lower heat reduces additional HCA formation. Food number 2, chicken, turkey, and other poultry. Poultry has high protein and moderate natural sugar content. This combination creates perfect conditions for age formation during heating. Study from Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry measured age content in chicken prepared different ways. Fresh grilled chicken breast, 4,200 age units per serving. Same chicken refrigerated overnight, then microwaved, 9,800 age units. More than double the inflammatory compound concentration. Why such dramatic increase? First, heating. Proteins and sugars begin combining under heat, creates some AGEs. Refrigeration. Water content reduces slightly as chicken sits, concentrates remaining compounds. Reheating. Additional heat accelerates age formation. Compounds multiply rather than just adding. Research from diabetes care, though focused on diabetes, shows relevant mechanism. High age intake increases inflammatory markers, CRP and IL-6. Same inflammatory markers associated with PSA elevation in studies from clinical chemistry. The connection, AGEs from reheated chicken, systemic inflammation, prostate inflammation, PSA release. Study from Prostate Journal found men who reduced dietary AGE intake by 40% experienced average PSA reduction of 0.7 over 12 weeks. Not dramatic, but for men with borderline PSA levels of 4.5 to 6.0, reduction of 0.7 can be difference between monitoring and biopsy recommendation. The alternative, cook chicken fresh when possible. If meal prepping, grill chicken Sunday, and eat cold throughout week in salads. Cold chicken doesn't need reheating, maintains lower age content. Or use chicken in dishes where it's added last, minimally heated. Chicken Caesar salad with grilled chicken added cold. Chicken wraps, chicken over fresh greens. Food number 3, rice, potatoes, and starchy grains. When starchy foods are heated above certain temperature, compound called acrylamide forms. Study from food additives and contaminants measured acrylamide in rice prepared different ways. Freshly cooked white rice, low acrylamide levels within safe range. Rice refrigerated, then reheated in microwave. Acrylamide levels increased 60 to 90% depending on reheating temperature and duration. Potatoes showed even more dramatic increase, 130% higher acrylamide after reheating. Why does acrylamide matter? Research from environmental health perspectives shows acrylamide promotes inflammatory response in body tissues. While acrylamide research focuses mainly on cancer risk from very high exposure, lower-level chronic exposure linked to general inflammation. Prostate, like other tissues, responds to systemic inflammation with increased PSA production. Additional concern with rice specifically, refrigeration and reheating changes resistant starch structure. While this is actually beneficial for blood sugar, the reheating process can create compounds that some men's digestive systems respond to with increased inflammation. Study from Nutrients Journal. Men who consumed primarily reheated starches had inflammatory markers 19% higher than men who consumed freshly prepared starches. The alternative? Cook rice and grains fresh in smaller portions. Rice cookers make this easy. Can cook 1 or 2 servings quickly. If you batch cook rice, freeze portions immediately after cooking. When ready to eat, thaw and use cold in grain bowls or fried rice made fresh. Or switch to room temperature grain options, quinoa salads, cold rice bowls, grain-based salads prepared fresh. Food number 4, foods cooked in oil, especially fried items. When oil is heated, it begins oxidizing, creates compounds called lipid peroxidation products. Normal cooking, some oxidation occurs, generally within safe limits. Reheating food that was previously fried or cooked in oil. Study from Food Research International shows dramatic increase in oxidation products. Fried chicken reheated, oxidation products increase 140%. Stir-fried vegetables in oil reheated, 110% increase. Pan-fried fish reheated, 170% increase. These oxidation products are inflammatory. Research from Free Radical Biology and Medicine demonstrates they trigger inflammatory cascades in body tissues, particularly problematic. Omega-6 fatty acids common in vegetable oils become more inflammatory when repeatedly heated. Study from American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. Men with high intake of oxidized oils had inflammatory markers, 38% higher than men with low intake. Real-world scenario. Order Chinese takeout with chicken stir-fried in oil. Refrigerate leftovers. Microwave next day. Fresh from restaurant. Oil already heated once. Moderate oxidation. After refrigeration and reheating, oil oxidized twice. inflammatory compounds multiplied, cumulative dietary pattern over months, chronic inflammation that may elevate PSA. The alternative? Eat fried and oil-heavy foods fresh only. Don't save and reheat them. If you want leftovers from oil-cooked foods, remove the food from oil-heavy sauce before refrigerating. Eat cold or use in fresh preparation without additional heating. Better yet, shift to cooking methods that don't rely heavily on oils. Baking, steaming, grilling. These create fewer oxidation products even when reheated. Food number 5. Tomato sauce, pasta sauce, curry sauces, and acidic foods. This one surprises many men. Tomatoes are healthy. Sauces seem innocuous. But acidic foods undergo specific chemical changes during reheating that create inflammatory compounds. Study from Food Chemistry examined tomato sauce stored in different containers and reheated. Finding: when tomato sauce is reheated, especially in metal containers or with metal utensils, acidic environment causes leaching and oxidation reactions, creates compounds that weren't present in fresh sauce. Reheated tomato sauce showed 49% increase in oxidative stress markers when consumed compared to same sauce eaten fresh. Curry and other acidic sauces showed similar pattern, 35 to 55% increase in oxidative compounds after refrigeration and reheating. Why does acid matter? Acidic environment accelerates chemical reactions during heating, speeds up breakdown of beneficial compounds, speeds up formation of inflammatory ones. Additionally, many men store and reheat sauces in containers that interact with acid. Even microwave-safe plastic can leach small amounts of compounds when heated with acidic foods. Research from Environmental Science and Technology shows these compounds can trigger inflammatory response. The alternative? Make tomato sauce fresh in smaller batches. Tomato sauce from scratch takes 15 to 20 minutes, not much longer than reheating. Or buy smaller jars, use entire jar in one meal, rather than reheating portion. If you must batch cook, freeze sauce in glass containers immediately after cooking. When ready to use, thaw in refrigerator and add to pasta without additional heating. Pasta heat will warm sauce sufficiently. For curry and acidic dishes, similar approach. Cook fresh, freeze extras, use thawed without reheating. Let's recap the 5 foods to stop reheating if you're concerned about PSA. 1. Red meat. Reheating increases HCAs by 170 to 230%. Eat fresh or cold instead. 2. Chicken and poultry. Reheating doubles age content. Cook fresh or eat cold in salads. 3. Rice and starchy grains. Reheating increases acrylamide 60 to 130%. Cook fresh portions or use cold in grain bowls. 4. Foods cooked in oil. Reheating increases oxidation products 110 to 170%. Eat fried foods fresh only. 5. Tomato-based and acidic sauces. Reheating increases oxidative compounds 35 to 55%. Make fresh or freeze and use without additional heating. Critical context you need to understand. Point 1. This is association, not proven causation. Research shows correlation between these compounds and inflammation, and between inflammation and PSA. Direct causation not established. Point 2. Individual variation is significant. Some men very sensitive to these compounds experience measurable PSA changes, others less affected. Point 3. Reheating occasionally won't harm you. This is about chronic pattern over weeks and months, not single instance. Point 4. Many factors affect PSA. Diet is one piece. Age, genetics, prostate size, inflammation from other sources, medications all contribute. Don't expect dietary change alone to normalize significantly elevated PSA. Point 5. If your PSA is elevated, see your doctor. Don't rely on dietary changes to address medical condition. This is complementary approach, not replacement for medical care. The practical strategy: don't try eliminating all reheating immediately. Overwhelming and unnecessary. Start with the food you reheat most frequently. If you microwave chicken leftovers 3 times weekly, that's your starting point. Make that change for 3 to 4 weeks. Monitor how you feel. If PSA tested during this time, note any changes. Then address the next food category. Gradual implementation more sustainable than complete overhaul. If this was helpful, tap like and share with men navigating PSA concerns. Subscribe because next week we're covering the 5 foods that research suggests may actually help reduce PSA elevation through anti-inflammatory effects. The science on reheating and compound formation is established. The connection to PSA is emerging research, not yet definitive. But if you're looking for dietary modifications that might help, reducing reheated high HCA foods is evidence-based approach. Fresh preparation when possible, gentle reheating methods when necessary, cold alternatives when practical, your PSA, your dietary choices, your informed decision.